All right, we give praise and esteem and honor to the Most High Yah, in the name of Yahweh Shah this day. Abba Yahuwah be esteemed by the name of his only begotten Son. We pick this up in John chapter 5, verse 39. Search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life. And there they was testified of me. You would not come to me that you might have life. I receive not the honor that comes from Elohim only. Do not think that I'll accuse you to Abba. There's one that accused you, even Moses, of whom you trust. Had you believed Moses, you would have believed me, for he wrote in me. But if you believe not his writings, how shall you believe my word? Pardon the delay. I had to get a doggone alternator replaced, man. And that junk got drained because of a bad battery properly. Alternator bad. But I had a warranty for it, so I didn't have to pay. Nevertheless, Proverbs 28:1. All right. The wicked flee when of the sun, being filled with the Ruach HaKodesh. We read in Acts chapter 5, already discussed with y'all in previous times, but we shall discuss it again right now. Romans chapter 8, verse 25. Because everything is going to be relative, especially dealing in the times that we're living in. A lot of people throwing out a lot of prophecies, a lot of people saying a lot of things. Understand that everything relates to Yahushua HaMashiach. Everything relates to the gospel. Most of you on here already know that. But when you do not know that, make that Romans 20, 6. There it is. 25 is fine. Matter of fact, you can make it 24. Because I was the words off when I actually wanted. And we're going to look at a particular of understanding. The lack of understanding will cause you to perish. The text already tells you this, that if you lack understanding, you are worthy of death. That is not shalom, man. That's not a recommendation. That's not a thought. Always recall and remember that when Yahushua said he opened up the law of Moses and the prophets and the Psalms and things concerning himself, and he opened up the apostles' understanding. You understand? Always remember that understanding has been made and to have the insight. You cannot see the work of eternal life that is magnified through Yahushua HaMashiach throughout the entirety of the text. Then there's no way that you're going to be able to understand or work the works of life yourself. About the law, because they're not going to work the works, they're not going to have the understanding, and that's male or female. And you know that male and female created he them and called their name Adam. So certain aspects of what certain women in the script, certain things that pertain to the women in the script, Yahushua walk those things out as well. Because we can sit back. Matter of fact, before we read Romans 8 and 24, come over here to that page is missing. Gonna have to pull it off this app now, won't we? Give me a moment. I'm moving kind of slow. I'm all off point. As far as my scheduling is concerned, I want you to come to 1 Corinthians chapter 11. You can pick it up at verse 1. Shalom, man. I'm gonna have to take the long route. I don't really want to skip over none of that. What it is. He said, "Be you followers of me, even as I also delivered them to you. But I would have you to know that the head of every man is Mashiach, and the head of the woman is the man, and the head of Mashiach is Elohim." I pause. Usually, when people look at this verse, they look at this verse in regards to the man being the head of the woman. And right and exact it is. But tonight, we're going to look at how Mashiach head is Elohim. And look at this in relation, because the head of the man, but the same way that that his father is the head of him, you have to see him do these certain things. That way he can hold the woman accountable. And when I say woman, natural woman, and Yahshua, being righteous, being bold, having the trust and confidence as a lion. So walk with me for a moment, please, if you would. He said, every man praying or prophesying, having his head covered, dishonor his head. Every woman that pray or prophesy with her head uncovered, dishonor her head. For that is even all one ever shaven. For if the woman be not covered, let her also be shorn. But it's the image and esteem of Elohim, but the woman is the esteem of the man. For the man is not of the woman, but the woman of the man. Neither was the man created for the woman, but the woman for the man. But this cause neither the woman without the man in the Lord. For as the woman is of the man, even so is the man also by the woman, but all things of Elohim. So these are the things that we want to sit back and we want to focus on. That the woman is of the man. Well, let's take a look at Proverbs chapter 8, because Mashiach is of Elohim. So when we look at this here now, we're going to look at something on a natural level, and we're going to look at this natural level thing between a man and a woman and see that it also is going to parallel this in regards to the Father and the Son. When I say the Father and the Son, I'm talking about Elohim and Yahusha. Now bear with me, come over here to Proverbs chapter 8. From Proverbs chapter 8 to John 17. Praise you, Lord. Proverbs chapter 8. Well, I want to. Let's look here. Verse 22 is fine. And then I'll move around a little bit because we're not going to read all of that. Proverbs 8:22 say, Yahuwah possessed me in the beginning of his way. Before his works of old, I was set up from everlasting, from the beginning, or ever the earth was. Now he said he's set up from the beginning. You could drop down to verse 30, where it tells you that he was by him as one brought up with him, and he was daily his delight, and he was rejoicing always before him. Now, this is referring to Mashiach. Some people look at it that way. Some people don't. Don't really matter. Books say what it say. The man say the whole book's about him. It's on you to figure out how to understand that. Because see, also, another major reason. Because the same way that those men died in the book of Samuel, when they did not bring the Ark of Covenant up by the due order, they're going to die because they think that they can teach themselves the word. And a lot of people going to perish because of that. That's what you see in this present generation. And I was listening to them, and we've discussed this as well with male authority. The reason why they have a problem with male authority, they ain't had no daddy. They ain't never been disciplined by no man. They ain't never been loved by no man. They never been guided by a man. A lot of women ain't never been loved and disciplined by. When another black man comes around and tries to exert authority or to correct them, they are offended. You understand? This is where it's come from. Now, remember, we had mentioned that verse last week. And John always say the son can do nothing but what he told several generations and didn't see a father do anything. So therefore, the thought process of I can do it myself, I don't need anyone to guide me, is why you see so many men has and never will be. It's never been the case. You can never open up the text and see a bunch of men saying, I don't need to Levite priest to teach me. Apostles. You don't see anywhere in the epistle letters of men saying, I don't need an apostle. I don't need a pastor. I don't need an evangelist. How can an Ethiopian eunuch have more sense than us, who's supposed to be the vanguards and holders of the words of life, say, how can I understand the text except some man guide me? Because see, you're offended at a masculine authority. So therefore, because you're offended at it, because you really resent your daddy. Shalom, man. You really resent your daddy. You really mad with him. And you displacing that resentment and anger on every authoritative man that you come across, females included, for what he may have done or what he may have not done. So the ability for him to yield is nothing. I thank you in the name of Yahusha for Richard Bonds, and I promise I do. Because then, as I've gotten older, I understood why I was never offended at another black man who was older than me, telling me something to do. Even in jail or in prison, I ain't care for them. We had much longer reign than the Caucasian. A Caucasian officer line was about this long. The black man gonna get about this long. You know what I'm saying? Because that man corrected me from the jump. He disciplined me from the jump. So to be offended at this man telling me something, no, that's not gonna bother me. You understand? You have to look at that. You have to look at the recesses of your mind when it comes to that, because now when you come and dealing with the word, you can see that this is why a lot of people hate Yahuwah to a certain extent. Not everybody, but a lot of them do. You got displaced anger against masculine authority. Because a masculine authority is going to correct you and care nothing about your feelings. It's not going to care nothing about your feelings. When you're not accustomed to that, that offends you. Because you're accustomed to feminine authority, and feminine authority yields to emotion. They're going to take your feelings into account. They're going to take what you want into account. Because again, we didn't discuss this before. That's why so many people dislike Trump. They don't dislike Trump for his policies. They dislike Trump because he's unapologetically masculine. That's what they dislike him for. He's not going to yield. He doesn't care about your feelings. He's going to do what it is that he want to do. and you're going to get down with it or you can slide because it's my way or no way. And a lot of us, you're not accustomed to that because you feeling, well, what about me? And what about how I feel? You don't feel like you need to conform. But what we're going to look at is Mashiach conformed. The same way that we got to conform to him, the same way that a woman has to conform to a man. This is what will allow you to have the trust and confidence to be bold. So you're not going to conform to something that you don't trust. Now you have to ask yourself if it's showing the proper qualities, and we're talking about the word of Elohim. Screw a man. Let's deal with the word of Elohim first before we go to dealing with anyone in the flesh. If you don't have trust and confidence in that, then therefore you can't conform. And since because you don't have trust and confidence in it, then therefore you can't be righteous. You're not going to be able to be Zadok. So then you're not going to be able to patak prefer. You're not going to be able to do that. That means then you're not going to be able to be filled and separated with the worship of Elohim. You're not going to be able to do it because worship means that you're going to have to bow down. You're going to have to yield. You're going to have to acknowledge that this man is greater than you. And if you can't acknowledge that he's greater than you, then you will fold and you will be deceived. It's as simple as that because you have to be willing to be guided. And it can't be guided according to your terms. You're going to follow that man's terms or you're going to be out here on your own. And now you need to ask yourself, in the midst of tribulation, persecution, do you want to be out here on your own? That's what you have to ask yourself. Nevertheless, I finished Proverbs chapter 8. I need to go to John chapter 17. Possibly. I do not. Yes, 17. But we'll pick it up at 17. I will do 17 and 6 instead. He says, I have manifested your name unto the men which you gave me out of the world. And they were, and you that I come out from you, and they believe that you did send me. So that's the first key point, what you got to understand. Do you not understand that the words that you get, they coming from heaven? Do you not believe that those words come from Elohim? And if you do believe that those words came from Elohim, then you ought to believe that Yahuwah sent Yahushua HaMashiach to be the savior of the world. Therefore, you will have the trust and confidence. See, remember when we went over probably about a year plus ago of the signs to be able to tell who was chosen and who was not. See, a lot of our people, they damn fools. You're stupid, you're retarded, you're blind, you're lack seeing, you're nearsighted, you're farsighted. You can't see a godly individual or Elohim himself if he stood there with a sign across his chest and 4 signs of ID. You'll still doubt and question. That's foolish, that's stupid. And it's not because you don't really trust in Elohim, because you don't trust in the people who had authority over you in your youth, and you don't trust yourself. So therefore, you don't want to yield to them. I also had a conversation with a brother, and this is a true story. And I didn't think about this here until he mentioned it. We live in a society now that implores men to open themselves mentally and emotionally to a woman. Ask yourself this question. What benefit it is to a woman for a man to open himself up mentally and emotionally to her? What can she do with that information? What is the purpose? It serves her no purpose. She can't do anything with that. It's actually, because I went to think about it in the terms of the word, that's when it clicked. It actually is more beneficial to the man for the woman to open herself up mentally and emotionally to him, for him to properly lead, guide, direct, and comfort her. He can't do that without that information. It's more because I went to think about us towards Yahushua. Why would Yahushua need to open himself up to us for? What benefit does that do for us for him to do that? It is more beneficial for us to open ourselves up mentally and emotionally, most importantly, screw emotionally, spiritually when dealing with Yahushua to him. Because he told us to come unto him if you were heavy laden and lay your burdens down and he will give you rest. He told us to pour out our heart unto him. He's a refuge for us. So that means when it comes to dealing in that concept, it is more beneficial for the woman to do it to the man than the man to do it to the woman. The woman can't do nothing with the information other than use it to destroy that man. That's all she can use it for. She's not nobody who's gonna lead, guide, and direct. She can't bring no comfort. That's not her nature. That's not her job. Because when we say that, then we saying that Yasharal is doing that for Yahuwah. Now ask yourself, does that make any common sense? Brains and cast away every single solitary thing that these people have, shalom, man, these people have taught us, because it is backwards. Because it causes us to look backwards towards our maker. When you look at your brother, I'm talking about man to man, you're supposed to see your maker. When a woman, you look at your husband, you're supposed to see your maker. When you look at your offspring, you're supposed to see your maker. That's what you're supposed to see. But because we looking at things backwards and naturally and according to carnal and philosophical, that's why he tell you to not be deceived by vain deceits and philosophies of the world, which are the doctrines and commandments of men. We don't look at the pure doctrine of Yahuwah and what he is showing us of how to operate and how to do things. You know what I'm saying? I see, I thank Yahuwah because sometimes stuff just come to my head out the blue based off things that ain't really talking about the word. And I thank Yahuwah for it in the name of Yahushua. And we probably look at that more in depthly on the Sabbath. Y'all really want to have more time of the aspect of why it is more beneficial for us, meaning his bride, to open ourselves to him. Because he's here to help. That's what the man is there for, to be a help. Not a help in the aspect of how the world look help, but a problem solver and a solution and a guider. He can't guide if you don't give him the information to be able to know what to do, to be able to assist you. There's nothing that he can do. Because it doesn't matter. The woman can't help the man. Not in that regard. All you're supposed to be is a pillar of rest. You're not supposed to be the problem solver. You're not supposed to be the guider and director. That's not your job. When we understand what our jobs is on both sides, then the harmony of Elohim can be manifested on this physical plane, and all men can be testified to that Yahuwah is the living Elohim, and Yahusha is his anointed one. And that's the most important part of the whole plane. Do we want our Elohim to be esteemed, or do we want to continue operating in a function that is detrimental to our very souls? But let's continue. Verse 7. Now they have known that all, I already read that, excuse me. Verse 9. I pray for them. I pray not for the world, but for them which you have given me, for they are yours. All mine are thine, and thine are mine, and I'm esteemed in them. And now I am no more in the world, but these are in the world, and I come to you, Kadash Abba. Keep through your own name those whom you have given me, that they may be one as we are. Now, of course, you know in verse 5, if you would make it 21, because look how he said that him and the Father are one. They are one. Now, of course, y'all know we're going to go look in the law and see that a man and his wife, they're one. And we're going to read that in another place in the law of what that means, because there has to be a conforming. And through that conforming is where the boldness is going to come in at. See, the reason why I mention that, because you can only receive the Ruach if you obey the Son. That's the only way that you can receive it, which means you would have to conform. You can't. So let me tell you something, man. And I told you this before, it's been a minute. There's no individuality in the word whatsoever. There's no individuality. The only individuality that exists is your personal salvation. That is it. There's no individuality in a marriage. It's one heart, one mind, one body, and that is of the man, because that is representative of what's in heaven. You can't have two people on two separate accords. You can't have two people going in two separate directions. The woman can't have a vision and the man got a vision. That is contrary to the will in heaven. We don't have to like it, but that's what it is, though. Because that's not the will in heaven. Because why do I say that? Romans chapter 8 tells you that the flesh cannot be subject to the instructions of Elohim, neither indeed can be, because it's enmity between the flesh and the spirit. He told you that you cannot love two masters, because you will love one and you will despise the other. You will cleave to one and you will forsake the other. You can't do it. He told you that a house cannot be divided. A house divided will fall. Can't be divided. He told you by the mouth of Paul that there be no schisms in the body, and that everybody be perfectly joined together with the same judgment and the same mind and the same word. Job told you that all the scales fit together, perfectly joined, that not one can be separated from the other. So all this thought process that I can be over here doing this and I can do this and I can do that, that's doctrines of devils. That'll lead you to hell. You ain't gotta like it. Take it up with Elohim if you got a problem with it. because we can manifest that very easily. That's why the perfect example of what I discussed, and you can see it when people leave the New England Patriots. It's one way. And you're going to get down with that one way, or you can get out of town. See, people don't like that because I want to have fun. And what about how I feel? It's about not any of that is important. The only thing that is important is the objective at hand. That is the only thing that is important. What good is it to have fun and feel good and not obtain the objective? That's foolish. That's childish. That's immature. That's idiotic. Nevertheless, John chapter 17, verse 20. Neither pray I these for these alone, but for them also which believe on me through their word, that they all may be one as we are, as may be one as you are in me and I in you, that they may also be one in us, that the world may believe that you have sent me. The esteem which you gave me, I have given them, that they may be one, even as we are one. I and them, and you and me, that they may be perfect in one, that the world may know that you have sent me and have loved them as you have loved me. I will that they also whom you have given me be with me where I am, that they may behold my esteem which you have given me, for you love me before the foundation of the world. Notice that Yahushua consistently referenced that he was in the Father and the Father was in him. Now, John 14 and 15, he said, if you love me, keep my commandments, I'll give you another comforter. He said, the world has neither seen him nor known him, but you have known him, and he abides in you and shall be with you. See, that man can't be with you if you're not willing to yield and conform. That is the purpose of bold as a lion. Because if you're bold, get Genesis 49 tonight, but this stuff hit my mind right now. You who are willing will work those areas in there. But him as that lion, he conformed. Notice of the man, Mashiach is of Elohim. Mashiach is not of himself. He said this. Let's look at it, the stamp that the Lord said that out of his mouth. Let's go to John 6 and 34, if you would. And then after that, Genesis chapter 2, Genesis chapter 5. And from there, then we'll get to Romans chapter 8. Bear with me, because I'm not going to cut it short because we got delayed. So Yahuwah willing, we'll roll it out. See, this is something to consider. Now, again, I have to reference natural things for the understanding, but that is not the number one key component. But truth be told, we know that what you do naturally is usually how you behave spiritually. This is not just also a natural male-female thing, because we are his wife as men, first and foremost, because we're part of his body. You've been immersed into his death. You're supposed to be a part of his body. See, I was telling the brother this the other day as well, which I told y'all numerous times over the course of time. When you get baptized, when you read the text, when the people got baptized, they received the Spirit immediately. They received the Spirit immediately because they believed. There wasn't necessarily a delay. That's why I say the just to live by their faith. When you hear, you yield. See, it tells you that in Psalms 18, is that as soon as they heard of me, they submitted unto me. You understand? As soon as they heard, they yielded. See, what ends up happening, we hear, but we don't yield. The reason why we hear and don't yield is because we're not willing to mortify our members. We don't really want to get up on that tree and die. You still want to stay alive. You still want to be that individual. You still want to do things outside the vision and will of your husband, because you're more concerned with yourself and what it is that you want to do. You cannot be, I don't care what my husband say. That man told Moses in that mountain, he said, you make this tabernacle according to the pattern in the mountain, not how you want to make it. Do it how I told you to do it. That's the pattern you got to follow. You can't go outside of that. If you go outside of that, you outside of my will. Therefore, I must reject you. This is why we in America. This is why you in the four corners of the earth. Because you saw the pattern, plan, and vision of your husband, and you said, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to do what I want to do, and he going to take it. And that's what God Cain rejected. You can't do that. You got to conform to him. He is not conforming to you. And truth be told, if he did, you wouldn't respect it. So we need to stop trying it. Stop trying to get that man to conform to you. Humble yourself before the living Elohim and conform yourself to him so your soul might be saved. And stop being rebellious and stiff-necked and proud, thinking you know more than he do. thinking you can direct yourself better than him. If you could direct yourself better than him, then you wouldn't need a savior. What type of crap is that? Nevertheless, John chapter 6, man. John chapter 6, verse 32. But I give you verse 26 on general principle. Yahushua answered them and said, truly, truly, I say unto you, you seek me, not because you saw the miracles, but because you did eat the loaves and were filled. Labor not for the meat which perish, but for the meat which endure unto everlasting life, which the Son of Man shall give unto you. For him Elohim Abba sealed. Then they said unto him, what shall we do that we might work the works of Elohim? Yahushua answered and said unto them, this is the work of Elohim, that you believe on him whom he hath sent. They said therefore unto him, what sign show you then, that we may see and believe you? What do you work? Our fathers did eat man in the desert, as it is written. Keep that in mind with that desert, because we're going to discuss that this evening, God willing, before we leave here. As it is written, he gave them bread from Shamahim to eat. Then Yahushua said unto them, truly, truly, I say unto you, Moses gave you not that bread from Shamahim, but my Abba give you the true bread from Shamahim. For the bread which he of Elohim. And they said unto him, Lord, evermore give us this bread. And Yahushua said unto them, I am the bread of life. He that come to me shall never hunger. He that believe on me shall never thirst. But I said unto you that you also have seen me and believe not. All that Abba give me shall come to me. Him that come to me, I will no wise cast out. For I come down from Shamahim not to do my own will, but the will of him that sent me. Number one, notice his statement. I didn't come to do what I wanted to do. I came to do what I was sent to do. I came to do what I was told to do. I came to do things according to the pattern in the mouth. That's what I came to do. I came to fulfill the vision of my Father, because he slain me before the foundation of the world. So this was already laid out. I'm conforming to his will. That's why I say sacrifice and burnt offering you did not desire, but a body you have made for me. He say, lo, I come in the volume of the book. It's written of me. And I delight to do your will. And your Torah is in my heart. See, the problem when it comes down to stuff is you don't delight in what he wants you to do. Because she wants to do what she wants to do. You can look at the text and see how that detrimental that is. And if you think I'm talking about somebody who came out born a woman, use a fool. If you look in that text, you can see what happens when a woman don't want to do what her husband told her to do. You can look at it, you can see it. You saw a woman grab some doggone gold earrings and all the gold and make a golden calf and worship it and eat, drink, and play. You saw this woman lay down with Baal Peor. So where Phineas had to bring a javelin and stab people in the chest. You saw this woman make groves to Ashtaroth right by the temple of Yahuwah. You seen it. You seen this woman worship Baal, where the prophets of Baal had to be slain. You seen it. You seen it. You seen this woman say, give us Barabbas over the son of the living Elohim. You seen it. So you see what happens when a woman has no desire to do the will of her husband. You see the consequence. It leads to separation. Now, this man, in his infinite mercies and goodness and graciousness, has given us the gospel of reconciliation and caused us to be able to cast those sins to the side by the blood of the Lamb of Elohim, that they may be purged and remembered no more. And all you have to do is do what he commanded you to do from the jump street. And that follow his will and yield to his way. That's all you have to do. What is difficult about that? What is it that you want to do, which is so greater than the vision and plan that Yahuwah has manifested to us through the flesh of his only son, Yahushua HaMashiach? What is great? What you got to do that's so great, that's so much more important? Nevertheless, Genesis chapter 2. Two and 21. Genesis chapter 2. Genesis. Praise Yahuwah in the name of Yahweh. Ain't nothing but salvation. And one thing for certain and two things for sure. Your medicine don't taste good because it stings your chest. Some of y'all used to like to drink strong yak. Used to put hair on your chest, have your chest burn. Go down strong, just like the same way that Ezekiel said it went down bitter, but it was sweet in his belly. You got to sit back and look at that. Genesis chapter 2, verse 21. Yahuwah Elohim caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept, and he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh instead thereof, and the rib which Yahuwah Elohim had taken from man, he a woman, and brought her unto the man. And Adam said, this is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh, and she shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. Therefore shall man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. Now, of course, you know, for one, that is a cod, and you have Aleph, Cot, and Dalet. So sit back and how you look at how you can see how this comes, right? How the strength of the leader's sacrifice will separate you. This is the only way that you're going to be one with him. Notice that there's that sacrifice because of that Dalet. So that means you're going to have to mortify yourself. You're going to have to die with him. Step one, that's conforming. You're going to have to conform. You're going to have to be made conformable in that area. You're going to have to die with it. He noticed that he put Adam in a deep sleep in regards that he died. If you're going to look at it in that terms, and we could get the word there for you if you desire. Even if you didn't desire, I was going to do it anyway. The word is tardama, deep sleep or trance. Lethargy, by implication, or trance. You have characters here of Tau, of Raj, and Dalet. Because we can use double on that. The man will raise on. Behold, look at it. That he is that the Ruach of the highest is the covenant by the blood, or things of that nature. I'm moving kind of too fast. I ain't sitting back and think about that third list. I shouldn't. I probably should. But nevertheless, notice that the key thing you see in that word is you see covenant, you see that mean for blood, or that ruach, you see the Rosh for the highest, you see the hay for Yahusha. All of these things are in there. And all of these things are in there because of him being able to conform. We don't have to read it, but y'all know what happened when he got ready to die. He said, I will let this cup pass, but if not, let your will be done and not mine, because I'm willing to conform and yield to your will. It's not about me. That's trust and confidence. See, sometimes people don't yield because they don't have trust and confidence in the person. They don't have trust and confidence in themselves, to be honest. You know what I'm saying? It don't even really got nothing to do with Elohim. It don't really got nothing to do with that man. It got something to do with them. And it's easier to transfer that on to, because at the end of the day, if you know somebody's an idiot, you already know they're an idiot. You know what I'm saying? Now, why you fooling with that idiot? You know why you fooling with that idiot, but you already know they're stupid. You already know that they're not somebody worth having confidence in. We already read that verse. You know that. You don't have to go on no deep investigation. You already know they're unfaithful. So if you already, but if you know the person is faithful, then why do you lack confidence? Ain't got nothing to do with them. That's you. Because you already know Yahushua faithful. Let me show you how you know. Revelation chapter 3. It might be chapter 2. Because we seen what happened when his time of tribulation. That man ain't fold. That man stood firm. It is Revelation chapter 3. My apologies. 3 and 14. Revelation 3 and 14. He said unto the Malachim of the house of the Laodiceans, write these things, saith the Amen, the faithful and true witness, the beginning of the creation of Elohim. What the problem is? See, the problem is we hate masculine authority. That's what the problem is. You got unresolved issues with your daddy. That's what your problem is. You know what I'm saying? You need to handle that. It's going to mess with your soul. Because Yahushua yielded to his father. Why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't he? You really have to sit down and look at the aspects of how you look at your father, and sit back and look at how you look at your father in heaven, and sit back and see where your service at. Because then when you look at your service in regards, I'm talking about as a child. When you look at how you look at your father as a child, that's going to sit back and see how you look at you. Now you'll be able to look at, if you a man, any men who are older than you, who tried to yield masculine authority, and how you reacted to them. If you're a woman, you're going to be able to look at your interactions with men and why you behave the way that you behave with men. Because it's going to go back to your daddy. That's where it's going to go back to. That's why having a man in the house is very, very important. Y'all already know that, but we don't really understand how important that is. That's why he put a man in the house. That's why when you look at bot and for house, you see it also means son, because that man the head of the house. It's got to be a man somewhere in the house. If ain't a man in the house, it's going to be utter chaos. You can't put a whole bunch of women in no house and expect order. That's retarded. And how do we know that? Because the minute Yahushua, the minute Yahuwah forsake Yasharal and left us out there by ourselves, it was nothing but disorder. You see it. You see it. You see it. You can go any city in America, anywhere where the sons of Yasharal are located, and it's disorder because that woman in the house by herself with no men. Just a whole bunch of women sitting in the house doing whatever. Stupid as the day is long. Talking about they men, I know what I'm doing. You's a jackass. You know what I'm saying? That's why people in the position that they in. Because you stupid. And the worst part is you know you stupid, but you're too proud to let the man lead you. You're too proud to let the man guide you. You're too proud to humble yourself under his hand because you don't believe that he cares about you. And that's not his problem. What more does Yahuwah have to do to show you he cares about you? What more does he have to do? See, just because somebody do everything that they want you want them to do don't mean they care about you. That's manipulation. The stuff that people do to people to prove, oh, you care about me. No, you just want somebody to do what you want them to do. That don't mean they care about you. That don't mean they care about you. You know when somebody care about you, but you don't want that. You want what you want. And that's why people don't have a spirit. That's why you're not where you want to be. It ain't got nothing to do with your lack of understanding the text. Most of y'all understand the text very well, but you don't believe it. You don't believe it enough to yield and release yourself and conform to the image of the living Elohim. That is your problem. That is your problem. You won't conform. You refuse to conform. That is the problem. At the end of the day, the point that we're going to take away of our completion of being the righteous, being bold as a lion, the trust and confidence of the righteous causes them to yield and to conform. It causes them to yield and conform to Yahushua, the same way that Yahushua yielded and conformed to Elohim. That's what we have to be able to do. You can have all the scriptural knowledge you want. You can keep all the instructions that you want to keep. That don't mean you trust him. That doesn't mean that you have confidence in him. They tell you that in Joel chapter 3. When all that stuff go on in the earth that's going to be going on, he said he's going to be the trust and the confidence of his people. When tribulation arises, when affliction arises, where is your confidence? If you believe that Yahushua is the true and faithful witness, where's your confidence? If you know your husband is a faithful man to Elohim, then where's your confidence? It ain't because of him. If you could open your mouth and say, yeah, he's faithful, then it's the problem's not him, it's you. You're not taking accountability for your lack of confidence in your God. That's you, that ain't him. You can't turn around and say Yahushua is faithful, man. You know, he trusts Elohim. I don't trust him though, because this, that, and the third. Come on, man, that's oxymoronic. That makes no sense. That makes no sense. There's no way that you could justify that thought process. There's no way that you could justify that. You could spin it and make it however you want. You can't justify that. That's you. It's just easier to blame the Lord. Nevertheless, I finished with Revelation 3. I need Genesis 5. 5 and 1, if you would. See, praise Yahuwah in the name of Yahushua. Faith is a beautiful thing. He told you that in Hebrews chapter 11. That you can overcome aliens. Aliens, you know, strangers coming in the land. Overcome death. All of those things. I read Hebrews 11, I mentioned. Because I'm leaving stuff out. I know I'm leaving it out. Nevertheless, Genesis 5 and 1. This is the book of the generations of Adam. In the day that Elohim created man, in the likeness of Elohim made he him. Male and female created he them, and he baruched them and called their name Adam in the day when they were created. Now remember, when Yahushua rose from the dead, he already told you by the mouth of Paul in Ephesians chapter 3 that everything in heaven and earth was named for Mashiach. So when you come from him, you have to come and be made in his image. You got to be one flesh with him. See, that word for flesh was basar. I think it's Bat, Shan, and Rosh. If my memory serves me correctly, let me make sure because I don't want to give you incorrect information. And I was correct. So now you sit back and you can look at how the sun is paired to the highest. Shalom, brother. How the sun is paired to the highest, or how the sun was consumed by the highest. However you want to look at that, because of the ability to conform and to yield. You're gonna have to conform and yield. The person that you gotta understand, son, Yahushua was manifested in the flesh. He was taken through the furnace of affliction. The Father consumed him and made him a new creature. You know what I'm saying? He came out of the grave, the son of Elohim. He went in the son of man. He came out the son of Elohim. He was formed to consume. That's how it happened. I keep telling y'all repeatedly, bring that stupid junk from the world and the philosophies and doctrines of men and try to mix it with the word if you want to. And watch how fast you find yourself burning in hell because you can't mix carnal and spiritual. You cannot do it. Why do you think he said, oh no, you can't let them get hold of that tree of life? Now that they got knowledge of good and evil, can't let them do it. I can't let you live forever and be carnal at the same time. Can't let you do it. You can't mix them. It's one or the other. It can't be both. It ain't gonna work. Amen. It is fully essential. It is fully essential. Because at the end of the day, why do you think a lot of marriages in this country fail? Yeah, some men do. A lot of men don't. A lot of men don't. A lot of women just don't want to yield, especially when you live in a society that no longer promotes submission. We discussed this a couple weeks ago. The minute that you yield is the minute that your husband will be more prone to serve you. Why would a man want to serve someone who will not serve him, who will not yield to him? What makes you think that he would want to do that? Why would you think that he would? Why would you want him to do that? Because y'all know if it's a man that you bucking, and you disrespecting, and you rude to, you know what I'm saying, and you shut off from, why would he want to do anything for you? Why would you even feel entitled to that? You have to sit back and look at, remember what this man told you, man. If you do well, shall you not be accepted? If not, sin lie at the door. This ain't just about doing well to your husband in the natural sense. But if you do what's just and what's right, then you're going to be accepted. So don't you think if you do just what's just and what's right amongst men, that you're not going to be accepted? What makes you think it's any different? He said, and your will be done in earth as it is in heaven. This man said, if a man ways please Elohim, he make his enemies be at peace with him. What do y'all think? This man's power is limited? Like, what do we do? Do we really believe what we read or talking about? Or niggas just doing something to pass time? Because it seems like it's something to do. Like, come on, man. I got many things to say, but y'all ears can't take all that this evening. Let's continue though. I just read that Genesis 5, come to Romans 8. Romans 8 and 24. And the reason, and praise you, Lord, I feel it in my spirit. It's going in this direction because we're coming up on first fruits. It's rapidly approaching. You understand? It's rapidly approaching. We're about 30 days out. You understand? So, with that being said, knowing that that's coming, if you want to be of that first resurrection upon whom the second death has no power, you have to consider your service and what you're doing. Because everybody who received that gift of the Ruach HaKodesh on Pentecost, as it is outlined in Acts chapter 2, they got it because they believed and they yielded. They said they were pricked in their heart. They said, what shall we do? He said, repent and be immersed, every one of you, in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach. To repent and to turn, you have to humble yourself in that regard. They were pricked in their heart, so they humbled themselves. They yielded. Let me cast these dead works away. Ask yourself, what benefit is the thought processes that you have benefiting your soul? And why are you still holding on to them? Why are you holding on the dead way? You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, why you just can't let go and let the man love you? Why you just can't let him in? Because you know, we live in a society, right? Because people been injured and hurt. I get it. I understand it. You know what I'm saying? You've been injured and hurt because you open yourself to the wrong people. That's your fault. Why is it your fault? It's not your fault that those people did wrong to you. It's your fault that you weren't deliberate in discerning of characters of other people because you were involving yourself in matters that you ain't had no business involving yourself in because you were green and you were inexperienced and you was in a rush to be grown. So you felt like you could jump out there in grown folks' arena and do grown folks' things, and you suffer the consequences because of that. You have to take responsibility for that. You're not responsible for what the people did. You're responsible for trying to be grown. Ill prepared to deal with the things of life, but you were such in a rush to go out there and do it. So you got to take what come along with that. So now we live in a world where people put walls up and things of this nature to keep people out. And people assume that people have to jump over these walls and run through these walls to get toward you. The average person who is of any value and weight, specifically a man, he's not going to do it. He's not going to do it. Truth be told, any woman who's of any worth and weight, she's not going to do it. Because we live in a society that tells you if you love somebody, this is what you'll do. You'll do this, you'll do that. Just look at the man who loved everybody more than anyone could ever fathom because he laid his life down for him. And that man did not do that. He said, come to me. I got you. I'm not jumping through over nothing. If you can't, he told Philip, how long I've been with you and you have not known me? He stood right out there in front of them people. He said, hey, you know what I said. They know what I taught. You know what I'm on. You've seen it. He said, if you don't believe me for the work's sake, for my words, he said, believe me for my actions. He didn't say I'm not, he said I ain't finna do this and do that to get you to trust me, nigga. If you can't tell by what I'm telling you and what I'm doing, then you ain't never gonna get it. I'm gonna go about my business. Because if you don't believe, there's somebody around the corner who will. Same token, you see that in John chapter 8. He sat there, he went to dropping that word on the people, and he started talking to the guy who believed in him. He started talking to everybody in the crowd, just to those who believe. See, you have to look at that. Because I'm talking about us looking at Yahuwah. Because a lot of the stuff that we do towards natural people, we doing it to Yahuwah. See, go past the natural example and ask yourself, am I treating God this way? Am I expecting your life? Why you won't just come to me? I'm a refuge for you. I'm here for you. I'm here to comfort you. I'm here to guide you. I'm here to love you. I'm not doing all of that. All you got to do is come here. I don't care what Satan did. I don't care what sinners did. I'm not him. I'm not them. I'm showing you. I ain't just telling you. I'm showing you. I live set apart. I manifested my love. I laid my life down for you. I'm doing stuff I ain't even got to do. But that's who I am. That's what I do. I ain't got to do this. I'm doing this because I'm Yahuwah. He said, I'll draw you with love and kindness. You can't tell? This man said, I gave you the gospel of reconciliation. You can't tell? Like, this is what my point of what I'm trying to make. We got to use the natural because you can see it. You can understand it. Now, take what you can see and understand naturally and say, am I doing this through the spirit? Am I treating Yahuwah like I'm treating the people who did me wrong? I feel like he going to do me wrong. So I can't have trust and confidence in him. I can't yield to him because I'm thinking about this natural person that did this and did this and did this. That's what a lot of people do who in the word. Oh, these people in the word, they did me like this and did me like that. Okay, well, that means they are the devil. What that got to do with Yahuwah? You got to have discernment. He already told you this. He already told you this. Everything that we could come up with, this man has already taught you. You don't listen. You don't listen because we worry about everything else. We worry about, oh, you eat no shellfish, ain't no pork on my fork. You keep this, no, you go to church on Sunday. You around here keeping Easter and Christmas. This nigga stupid. You miss all the stuff that this man teaching you how to properly prepare to live your life and serve him, to trust him, to love him, to let him guide you. You missing all that because you want to argue, because you want to be right. You understand? It's definitely a carnal way of being. It's definitely not an Elohim. You know what I'm saying? But it's not necessarily that people are unforgiving. People have what's the word I'm looking for? They had resentment, they had trepidations. They stand that completely. I mean, I'm not knocking anybody for that. Not knocking anybody for that. If you done fool with certain type of men or women or had certain type of friends and they did you wrong and did you dirty and this, that, and the third, it makes you recede from people. It makes you trust people less. It makes you that's the word I was looking for. It makes you apprehensive to allow someone to come in. You understand? But the thing is you do let people, you have to sit back and actually discern character. See, a lot of the times, why I mentioned that before, a lot of times we're not discerning character. See the character flaws. Now, there's a difference between a character flaw and idiosyncrasies of a person that you don't particularly like. Here's the difference. See, a lot of the times we hold people's idiosyncrasies against them. That's not their character. That's just certain quirks and things that they do. That's not their character. You have to look at someone's character, the consistency of the character that they exhibit, the consistency of their actions. And that's when you just say, you know what? This is a faithful individual. This is a genuine individual. And you can do that. That person is not going to. And why the book tell you that? A virtuous woman, they say, the man, no, I can give my heart to her. I have no need for spoil. I mean, I can trust this person. You know what I'm saying? Now, trust is earned over a period of time. It's not just given, but it's earned because of discernment of character. Not individuals hitting certain benchmarks that we have set to say, okay, I can trust them because of what other people have done to us and the injuries that others have done to us. Never do we sit back and think about the injuries that we've done to Elohim, but yet he still has a desire to let you come into him. And he still has the desire to give you a kingdom that you did not earn. So this is what I mean about understanding perspectives in order for you to be, because being bold as a lion ain't what we thought it was. You thought being bold as a lion was being aggressive. It was all about your trust and confidence in the word of Elohim. Because if you're righteous and you have boldness or the trust and confidence, it's because you believe the word of Yahuwah, like our father Abraham did. And therefore you were counted as being righteous. Because you know that he speaks the things that are, even though when they are not. And that he is the faithful Elohim. Just and righteous is he, and blessed be his name forever. So when we see that and we understand that, because we need that spirit, we got to have it. We can't leave this physical plane of existence without it. We cannot. And expect to be saved. We cannot leave here without it. Don't let nobody deceive you on that matter. I got to get you the stuff with the desert because I said it, and I don't want to be a lie. I said you were with it, but we're going to get it anyway. I got time. I don't know if you do, but I do. Verse 24, chapter 8. He said, for we are saved by hope, but hope that is seen is not hope. For what a man see, why do he yet hope for? But if we hope for that we see not, then we do with patience wait for it. Come over here to Hebrew chapter 11. I'm going to hit you right back, little bro. You hear me? I'm almost finished. Hebrew chapter 11. Hit this up at verse 30. I don't like to do no plugs. This stuff right here, I could drink. This the only cranberry juice I've ever drank in my entire life that I could drink every single solitary day and not be disgusted. I promise it is. He said, who through faith subdue kingdoms, who work righteous. This is Hebrews 11:33. Obtain promises and stop the mouth of lions. Look at what trust in Elohim can cause you to do. Subdue a kingdom. You'll work righteousness. You will receive promises. You can stop the mouth of a lion like Samson did. Quench the violence of fire, escape the edge of the sword, out of weakness were made strong, wax valiant in fight, and turn to flight the armies of the aliens. Women received their dead raised to life again. Others were tortured, not accepting deliverance, that they may obtain a better resurrection. See, we always quote that verse, if you have faith the size of a mustard seed and all that there in the third, and we done took those things and made it cliche. Come back to Romans chapter 8. Now understanding that a little bit of faith is stronger than 1,000 men. A little bit of faith is stronger than 15,000 gorillas. A little bit of faith is stronger than 100,000 lions. Just a little bit. Because the strength of Elohim the weakness of Elohim is stronger than men. So imagine if you had quote unquote weak faith, how much strength that really is. You understand? You already know the trust in Yahuwah is everlasting strength. That's what makes a virtuous woman, a Kayil woman, or a strong woman. It's her faith. That's why that woman yields to her husband. What type of strong woman who has faith in Yahuwah ain't going to yield to her husband? That is oxymoronic. Those two things don't go together. They don't mix. You can't say you a virtuous woman, a strong woman, a faithful woman, a righteous woman, and don't yield to no man. You's a lie from hell. You's a liar. You's a liar. Those two things don't go together. You weak if you can't do it. It's really weakness. The weakness is because of your pride and your ego and your stiff-neckedness. It won't allow you to. Nevertheless, Romans chapter 8, verse 26. Likewise, the Ruach also help our infirmities, for we know not what we should pray for as we ought, but the Ruach itself make intercession for us with groanings which cannot be uttered. And he that searched the hearts know what is the mind of the Ruach, because he make intercession for the saints according to the will of Elohim. And we know that all things work together for good to them that love Elohim, and to them who are called according to his purpose. For whom he did foreknow, he also did predestinate to be conformed to the image of his son, that he might be the firstborn among many brethren. Now he said that he predestinated them to conform. Now we know that certain people, they were already chosen before the foundation of the world. I want to share something with you that came to my mind when I was talking with a brother the other day. We read in John chapter 6 how he said our fathers were given manna in the wilderness and died. I want you to come over here to Numbers 13, if you would, if I'm not mistaken. If it ain't Numbers 13, it's Exodus 17. My mind says Exodus 17. Let me confirm. Praise Yahuwah. That's what it is. Exodus 17. You know, the word of Yahuwah is a bastion of hope. A bastion of it. You know what I'm saying? It's a cornucopia of comfort. He's the Elohim of consolation. We can never forget that. Exodus chapter 17 and verse 1. The congregation of the sons of Yasharal journeyed from the wilderness of sin. After their journeys according to the commandment of Yahuwah, and pitched in Rephidim, and there was no water for the people to drink. I'm just going to grab this word for wilderness. Some of you already know what it is. Some of you do not. And I want us to take a look at it. I know it is 9 o'clock. One second. So, of course, you know that wilderness is midbar. This is an uninhabited land, large tracts of wilderness, pasture, if you will, mean, Dalit, Ba, Raj. The thing that we sit back and look at in that wilderness is that there was chaos there. It was chaos there because of what the people were doing, because that's why it was called sin. It was chaos there. And they had chaos in their thoughts and in their mind. And because they had chaos and thoughts in their minds, it didn't allow them to be able to receive that sacrifice of the Son. I'm going to give you this word for sin because it's not what you think it is. It is Ciyyn or Samat, Yah, and Noon. So it means thorn. Thorn. Now remember, Paul told us that there was a thorn in his side where he was buffeted by Satan in 2 Corinthians chapter 13. 13 and 12, excuse me. So when we look at that Samat, Yah, and that Noon, you look at maybe possibly work of life or work of a seed. But now we have to look at Samat and say, what will we say Samat would be representative of? Well, we're looking at, we don't want to say they're going to grab hold to the work of life because it was a thorn in their side. So they didn't grab hold to anything because they were too proud and simple to grab hold. That's the biggest thing what get us messed up as men. See, we too proud. So now we see that we have thorn again. I want you to come over here to Psalms chapter 78. I want you to come about verse 37. And y'all willing, I will pick this up on the Shabbat in greater detail because it don't really fit on what we're looking at, but we're gonna work it in. Set the stage, a segue, if you would see fit. Psalm 78, right? Pick it up at verse. You know what? Pick it up at verse 26. Psalm 78 and 26. It says, and he caused the east wind to blow into heaven, and by his power he brought in the south wind. He rained flesh also upon him as dust, and feathered fowls like the sand of the sea. He let it fall in the midst of their camp round about their habitations. So they did eat and were all well filled, for he gave them their own desire. So you got to be careful with that. You always want what you want what you want what you want, and Yahuwah will give you that. And indeed, that's a good one, that's wrong. He'll give you that. He'll give you your own desire, and your own desire will kill you. That's what I see. They were not estranged from the lust, but while the meat was yet in their mouths, the wrath of Elohim came upon them and slew the fattest of them and smote down the chosen men of Yasharal. For all this they sinned still and believed not his wondrous works. Therefore their days did he consume in vanity and their years in trouble. And when he slew them, they sought him. And they returned and inquired early after Elohim. And they remembered that Elohim was their rock and the high Elohim their redeemer. Nevertheless, they did flatter him with their mouth and lied unto him with their tongues. For their heart was not right with him, neither were they steadfast in his covenant. But he, being full of compassion, forgave their iniquity and destroyed them not. Yea, many a time turned he his anger away and did not stir up all his wrath. You know what I read that? It came to mind. I always see brothers post their meme. Now as I'm sitting there, I'm thinking about Yahuwah, because we'll always talk trash about this, that, there, and the third. When Yahuwah is constantly and consistently having compassion to overlook everything that we do that he finds distasteful. Because I've encountered that, especially in my youth, of women always getting upset about what a man does, end of his rope. Because we're overlooked that, and overlook that, and overlook that. Because some men understand women, so they overlook it. Some of them just be like, man, I just not gonna sweat it. But looking at that, that's where Yahuwah don't be looking at the stuff that we do that he can't stand. Because that's the level of compassion that he has. You know, we don't never even sit it in our brain and be like, is Yahuwah pleased with that? Is he upset with that? Does that bother him? We don't even care. Well, he gave me this job, he gave me this, I don't like that he got this and got that. We got to stop being, we can't be that way. Not to be a faithful wife. We got the greatest husband that ever walked the earth. Verse 39, he said, for he remembered that they were but flesh. You see that? A wind that passed away and come not again. How oft did they provoke him in the wilderness and grieve him in the desert? Fathers ate manna in the desert. Now that word for desert here is a little different. It's Yeshimon, waste, wilderness, desert, desolate place, many moons ago. And we'll briefly hit some of these things, 20 and 32. And you who are willing, we will expound on the Shabbat. We'll grab Matthew chapter 24 after this Ezekiel 20, and we'll call it an evening. Leave us with something to consider. Ezekiel 20 and 32. And it says, and that which come into your mind shall not be at all that you say, we will be as the heathen, as the families of the countries to serve wood and stone. As I live, saith Yahuwah Elohim, surely with a mighty hand and with a stretched out arm and with fury poured out, will I rule over you. And I will bring you out from the people, and I will gather you out of the countries where you are scattered with a mighty hand and with a stretched out arm and with fury poured out. And I will bring you into the wilderness of the people, and therefore will I plead with you face to face. You know, a lot of our people right now, they looking for the fact that we're going to go in the wilderness and that Yahuwah going to plead with us face to face like we did when we came out of Egypt. Now, see, there's a difference before when you came out of Egypt till now. And this is the difference. And I'm going to get you this word for wilderness that's here. See what word is used here because it could be different. It's midbar. Same word that you see in an uninhabited place, wilderness. Same word you see used in those. When your forefathers were in Egypt, they had no knowledge of Yahuwah. They had no law. They had no instructions. Yahuwah had not manifested himself to them. Yahushua came and played with you face to face and manifested himself to you. This is what we know. We know this happened. You know what I'm saying? So if he told you that he sent you in Ephesians chapter 4, he sent you apostles, prophets, pastors, evangelists, and teachers for the perfecting of the saints, for the bringing again of the body. If you think this man finna pull you in the wilderness and teach you, what's the purpose of having anybody out here teach us now? We should be the same way that we were in Egypt. No knowledge of Elohim, live in any kind of way. And then he won't hold that to your charge. You have to ask yourself that question. Because why would the people who are alive get pulled in the wilderness, who didn't have the opportunity to hear the gospel, who don't get to get pulled in the wilderness because they dead? What's going to happen for them? So only the people who get pulled in the wilderness, they get put under the bond of the covenant, not the people who died? Because he said the dead in Mashiach shall rise first. So those people who died before you got pulled in the wilderness, they not in Mashiach or not? What is the answer to that question? Because he said, this is the blood of my, and I'm going to read the verse in a second. He said, this is the blood of my new covenant, which I shed for many for the remission of sins. So at that point, that man died for nothing. At that point, that means Yahuwah is cruel, and the works of Mashiach were unstainable and vain. But let's continue. Verse 35, I will bring you into the wilderness of the people, and there will I plead with you face to face, like as I pleaded with your fathers in the wilderness of the land of Mizraim, so will I plead with you, saith Yahuwah Elohim, and I will cause you to pass under the rod, and I will bring you into the bond of the covenant, and I will purge out from among you the rebels and them that transgress against me, and I will bring them forth out of the country where they sojourn, and they shall not enter into the land of Yasharal, and you shall know that I am Yahuwah. As for you, O house of Yasharal, saith Yahuwah Elohim, though you serve you, everyone is idols hereafter, if you will not hearken unto me, but pollute you, my Kadash name, no more, with your gifts and with your idols. And at the end of this chapter, he's going to tell you about the lake of fire. You can read that from verse 45 on out, and he tell you where it's at. And if you look it up, you will see that that is in the valley of Hinnom. But I want you to look at this bond of the covenant. And again, we'll go into this already because Yahushua came and played with you face to face. Now, if he come in the exact wrath, how he gonna plead with you face to face in exact wrath at the same time? How is he gonna come from Bozrah with garments dyed in blood and pull you face to face and do that at the same time? How is he gonna do it? You have to ask yourself that. Now, of course, you know that's Shabbat or Shabbat for rod, and that's the scepter, and we'll deal with that because that's in Genesis 49. That's what I had planned to do. But then you have bond of covenant. Moseret, Mean, Samar, Rosh, and Tau. And we'll discuss that a little later. But remember in Matthew chapter 24, and I'll grab the verse for you. And we went over it a few years ago. You can show you the Lord had already done that. He played with you face to face. Because he said, like he did when you came out of Egypt. So that's what people are looking at. We say he gonna gather us out. That man came right down here in the flesh and played with you face to face. See, let me get you that word for play. He looked you dead in your face. Same way he looked you dead in your face when you came up out of Egypt and you sat back and you ain't believed in that single solitary word he said. That word is shafat. He judged. When you came, but that's what it says. He judged. Now let's look at verse 35 for plead. Same thing. Judge. Decide a controversy. Execute judgment. So this is sitting here telling you what he gonna do. This ain't teaching you no word. This is the gathering of the righteous and the killing of the saints. I mean, the killing of the sinners, period. That's what it's about. This has already been done. In regards to sitting down teaching you face to face. When this man come through and judge you, man, that's what that's talking about. This man ain't talking about bringing you in the wilderness and teaching you again. He's not talking about that. And see, the beast gonna get a lot of people with that verse, in my opinion. Because he said he gonna have intelligence with the Kadesh people. So let's look at Matthew 24 and we get out of here. But like I said, I'm gonna go into it in more detail. Just bear with me. There'd be a lot of stuff going through my head, man. And I'd be wanting to get all of it to you, but we at 9:16. We got to get on off of here. Matthew chapter 24, and verse 23. He said, then if any man shall say unto you, lo, here's Mashiach of there, believe it not. For there shall arise false Mashiachs, false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. Oh, I have told you before. Wherefore, if they shall say unto you, behold, he is in the desert, Go not forth, or behold, he is in the secret chamber, believe it not. I don't understand it. And watch this raggedy, no good bastard. I'm talking about this niggardly, despicable, vile individual himself is probably going to take his stinking behind out there in the desert and tell you that Ezekiel 20 talking about him. Come out here with me so I can teach you this word. And ignorant bastards going to go right out there with it. Because he tell you that he going to teach those who forsake that set apart covenant. Keep in mind that that word for judge, that word for plead in that verse is shaphat. That's the judge. Remember that Revelation 19 say he coming in righteousness to judge and make war. That man is not pulling you in no wilderness to teach you no word, man. He ain't pulling you in no. Why you think Ezekiel 20? Let me read you Ezekiel 20 and 45. And let me tell you, why you think the chapter end with this? You think Ezekiel chapter 20, verse 45 end with this? Moreover, the word of Yahuwah came unto me, saying, Son of man, set your face towards the south. Drop your word towards the south. Prophecy against the forest of the south field, and say to the forest of the south, hear the word of Yahuwah. Thus saith Yahuwah Elohim, behold, I will kindle a fire in you, and it shall devour every green tree in you, and every dry tree, the flaming flame shall not be quenched. And that's what he said in Isaiah 66. And that's what the Lord told you in Mark chapter 9, that the worm dies not and the fire shall not be quenched. Let me read that to you again. And he said to the forest of the south, hear the word of Yahuwah. Thus saith Yahuwah Elohim, behold, I will kindle a fire in you, and it shall devour every green tree in you, and every dry tree, the flaming flame shall not be quenched. All the faces from the south to the north shall be burned therein, and all flesh shall see that I, Yahuwah, have kindled it, and it shall not be quenched. Then said I, Yahuwah Elohim, they say of me, do he not speak parables? Ooh, boo! We'll look at it some more, Yahuwah willing, on Shabbat. Hallelujah for Yahusha. Man, don't let these niggas tell you how you around here thinking this man finna come through and take you to some wilderness and teach you some word you supposed to already know. You supposed to already knew it before he got here. You supposed to already be filled with the Spirit before he got here. You supposed to already submit it to the magnificent and perfect will of the living Elohim before he got here. He ain't pulling you nowhere to teach you nothing. That man taking you out there to judge you, man. He taking you out there to judge you, man. It is what it is. You ain't gotta like it, but you gonna respect it. Yahuwah will be respected. His word will be magnified and esteemed throughout the four corners of the earth. Of that, you can be guaranteed. I appreciate y'all. Bless y'all at the house of Yahuwah in the name of Yahuwah. I appreciate you taking out time out your evening to join us together for the hearing of the words of the living Elohim. May his words resonate in your mind, heart, and soul, that you weigh and consider, and that you be conformed to that perfect and beautiful image. I mean, indeed, you have to study it, but if you study it and don't believe it, what good is the studying? You know what I mean? Of course you got it, because I told my homeboy the same thing. Yeah, you're supposed to read it. Definitely. He tell you that. Seek it out. Seek it out. But if you don't believe it and you don't lay it to heart to do it, your studying is in vain. It's in vain. You got to become one with it. It's got to become you. To where it's second nature. Put the death to the flesh and let the spirit live. And you'll live right along with it. Because the word of Elohim cannot be destroyed. And all who possess it are definitely promised and will receive eternal life. Of that we can be guaranteed. Indeed. Amen. You know what I mean? But again, blessings out the house of y'all name of Yahushua, man. Keep your faith up, keep your heart and mind strong, continue to stand on that rock of Elohim, Yahushua HaMashiach, and let your election be made sure. And Yahuwah willing to the next time.